10 Facts You Should Know About Prophet Muhammad. From the beginning of the history of the world and Islam, a large number of prophets were sent to teach people how to worship Allah and lead a righteous life. In the Book of Allah, there are 25 prophets mentioned by name. One of those great role models we admire is Prophet Muhammad, the man known to Muslims as the final messenger of God. He was an inspirational leader who formed Islam as one of the major religions in the world. Prophet Muhammad's personality and way of life is not just admirable but exemplary. There are some interesting facts about Prophet Muhammad that we should know. 1. Prophet Muhammad was an orphan. Prophet Muhammad was born in the month of Rabi ul-Awwal in 570 CE, first year of Amul Fil. His father, Abdullah, died a few months before his birth, when he was only 6 years old. His mother passed away, then his grandfather Abdul Muttalib took over the care and upbringing this doubly orphaned child. Abdul Muttalib died at the age of 82, leaving the care and custody of the orphaned Prophet Muhammad to Abu Talib. Abu Talib and his wife, Fatima bint Asad, loved Prophet Muhammad just like their own children. 2. Khadija bint Khuwaylid proposed him for marriage. When Prophet Muhammad was 25 years old, Khadija, his 40-year-old employer, proposed him for marriage. Their marriage was a monogamous marriage that lasted 24 years until Khadija passed away. 3. Prophet Muhammad's reaction on first Quran revelation. Prophet Muhammad often withdrew to a nearby cave called Hira on a mountain outside Mecca to meditate and pray for guidance in religious matters. One night in the year 610 CE, when he was lying in a cave of Hira, Archangel Gabriel appeared to him to give the first revelation. This first revelation made him perplexed and terrified because he knew it was a huge responsibility and he was not sure that he could carry out. After the first revelation has been given, Prophet Muhammad hurriedly left the cave, returned home to Khadija to tell her about it. This first revelation marked the beginning of his prophethood. Recite in the name of thy Lord who created man from a clot of blood. Recite, thy Lord is the most beneficent, who taught man by the pen, taught him what he knew not. Al-Alaq 96-1-5. 4. A humble and modest man. Despite having a huge followers, Prophet Muhammad was humble and never posed himself as being superior to any other mankind. He continuously educated his followers that he is only the messenger of God and they should not worship him. Say, I am only a man like you, to whom has been revealed that your God is one God. So whoever would hope for the meeting with his Lord, let him do righteous work and not associate in the worship of his Lord anyone. Al-Kahf 18-110. 5. Prayed until his feet swollen. Narrated by Al-Mughira bin Sayyabah. Prophet Muhammad used to offer night prayers till his feet became swollen. Somebody said to him, Allah has forgiven you your faults of the past and those to follow. On that, he said, shouldn't I be a thankful slave of Allah? Sahih Muslim. 6. Prophet Muhammad's miracle. On the day of the Treaty of Al-Hudaybiyah, people became very thirsty and rushed towards Prophet Muhammad. They had no water for ablution or drinking except a small pot of water which clearly was not enough for them. Prophet Muhammad then placed his hand into the pot and the water started to flow from his fingers like a spring. Everyone drank and performed ablution that day. 7. Established rights for women. Back in the 7th century CE in Arabia, women had very few rights. Even before Islam, female children were buried alive because females were considered shameful. Prostitution was everywhere. Women had been treated as possessions of their husbands while divorce was only in the hands of the husband, and inheritance was only for the strong. It was Prophet Muhammad who introduced revolutionary changes for women rights and privileges at that time. He taught that women were equal to men in the sight of God and prohibited adultery and sexual abuse of women, just like Prophet Muhammad said, and indeed I order you to be good to the women. Tirmidhi 8. Established rights of animals. Prophet Muhammad prohibited animal abuse and taught that people can go to heaven because they cared for animals. A man felt very thirsty while he was on the way, where he came across a well. He went down the well, quenched his thirst and came out. Meanwhile, he saw a dog panting and licking mud because of excessive thirst. He said to himself, this dog is suffering from thirst as I did. So, he went down the well again and filled his shoe with water and watered it. Allah thanked him for that deed and forgave him. The people said, O Allah's apostle, is there a reward for us in serving the animals? He replied, yes, there is a reward for serving any animate. Prophet Muhammad prohibited animal abuse and taught that people can go to heaven because they cared for animals. A man felt very thirsty while he was on the way, where he came across a well. He went down the well, quenched his thirst and came out. Meanwhile, he saw a dog panting sweating, licking mud because of excessive thirst. He said to himself, "This dog is suffering from thirst as I did." So, he went down the well again and filled his shoe with water and watered it. Allah thanked him for that deed and forgave him. The people said, "O Allah's apostle, is there a reward for us in serving the animals?" He replied, "Yes, there is a reward for serving any animate, living being." Sahih Bukhari, 9. Established the Constitution of Medina. After the migration from Mecca to Medina, Hijrah, Prophet Muhammad outlined a series of agreements. These agreements were made between the various groups of Muhajirun, and the important tribes of Yathrib, Medina, Jews, Christians, pagans, and the newly converted Muslims known as the Ansar. The Charter of Medina, also known as the Constitution of Medina, was declaring them to constitute one nation and stating that each group has a right to practice its religion freely. The charter formed the basis of an Islamic state in Medina. 10. Forgave the enemies. The beginning of Prophet Muhammad's prophethood was not easy. Prophet Muhammad's teachings were ignored at first in his hometown because his teachings threatened the Meccan way of life. He and his followers experienced heavy persecution. The Meccan even tortured and killed his followers and successfully exiled him from Mecca. But as the message of Islam grew, Prophet Muhammad led Muslims marched back on Mecca. They even entered and conquered Mecca without bloodshed, and Prophet Muhammad forgave the Meccans.